So this is Apple's HomePod, the second generation HomePod to be exact. And this right here is, well, this used to be my go-to smart speaker, the Google Home Max. Now, yes, the Google Home Max is about 7 years old, but I actually bought this back in 2020 for $250 so that I can play music around my apartment. And while it sounds good, it was too bass heavy and this thing weighs like a brick and the mics are pretty bad. So trying to ask Google Assistant for anything was nearly impossible while I had something playing on the speakers. Now, for $299 or $250 refurbished, you can pick up a HomePod 2nd gen, which in my opinion sounds just as good, if not better than the Home Max. And as someone who uses a Mac, an iPad, an iPhone on a daily basis, this is the way to go. Plus, having used 2 HomePod minis before getting these, I absolutely love having 2 of the bigger HomePods that can give me an insane home theater experience when I pair it with an Apple TV 4K. Now, it's been about 6 months or so since Apple released this 2nd gen HomePod, and with the latest iOS 17 updates, tvOS updates, the new HomePod firmware updates, this new HomePod actually got a little bit better, so let's talk about it. Now, before we get into what's new, let's quickly go over the HomePod specs real quick. So inside this 2nd gen HomePod are 5 beam-forming tweeters, 4 microphones, 1 4-inch high excursion woofer. It has an accelerometer, a temperature and humidity sensor. It also supports Dolby Atmos and spatial audio, which sounds awesome even if you only have one HomePod. But when you pair 2 of them together, it's just mind-blowing. Now, I'm not going to compare this to the 1st gen HomePod just because I never actually had one, so my experience is all going to be about, the 2nd gen HomePod and how it compares to my 2 precious HomePod minis, as well as the Google Home Max that I had. So let's talk about what I like about this 2nd gen HomePod. So the first thing I noticed when I unboxed this speaker is that the HomePod feels pretty dense. It has some weight to it, which is nice, so I know that it's not going to get knocked off easily, but it's also so much more compact than my outgoing Home Max. Now, I also like that the power cable is removable since the 2 HomePod minis that I've been using have integrated USB-C cables. Now, this means if the power cable ever goes south, I can always get a new one from Apple. Now, the second thing that I love is that this HomePod has an ultra wideband just like the HomePod mini. So if I'm on an iPhone 11 or later and I have, Apple Music playing on my phone, I don't have to tap on AirPlay and select the speaker. I can just walk up to it, bring my phone to my HomePod, and it'll start playing my music right away on that speaker. Now, in reality, it'll be more convenient just to do it all on your phone or ask Siri, but the fact that you can just walk up to the speaker with your phone and then audio will suddenly just transfer over is pretty cool. Now, another thing that I love about this HomePod is its sound quality. Now, I know that sound quality is a bit subjective and it's pretty hard to explain over video what I like about the audio quality on here, but as someone who used the Google Home Max, 2 HomePod minis in a stereo pair, out of all the speakers that I've tried so far, this has been my favorite. Now, I do have them paired in a stereo pair at the moment just because I'm using it with the Apple TV 4K, but the HomePod by itself, man, the high ends really pop and hits with great clarity. The mid-range is full and expressive, and the low end, that bass that I thought was overpowering on the Home Max and not as pronounced on the minis, just hits right with this HomePod. Now, it's not going to be overpowering bass. It's pretty well controlled and has enough oomph, I guess. Now, vocals on certain tracks that I've listened to, especially tracks with Dolby Atmos, comes out really crisp too. Overall, it's a really good speaker, and I'm sure there are plenty of other speakers in the market that are more affordable than the HomePod, but I don't know. If you're heavy into Apple's ecosystem, this is for sure the speaker to get. It plays so well with other Apple products, and if you're a Spotify user, you can now ask your HomePod to play any song from Spotify thanks to iOS 17 and the latest firmware for the HomePod. Play SZA and Justin Bieber on Spotify.
Now playing Snooze, acoustic featuring Justin Bieber, by SZA from your iPhone.
Just ask it to play a song or any artist from Spotify and it'll use your iPhone to AirPlay it to your HomePod. It is a bit slower than having native Spotify support, but at least we finally have some sort of support for Spotify here. And the next thing that I absolutely love is pairing these two HomePods to my Apple TV 4K as my TV speakers. Now, if your TV supports HDMI ARC or eARC, you can basically use these HomePods as your TV speakers, whether or not you're using your Apple TV. So if I'm on my PS5, my game audio comes out of these two HomePods, and it's amazing. So if I'm playing Spider-Man 2 on the PS5, it just feels more immersive since they did such a great job with the audio mixing on that game. So what is new here on the HomePod and the newest tvOS update is what Apple's calling enhanced dialogue. Now, I'm typically a subtitles kind of guy just because sometimes movies or TV shows that I'm watching, the audio sounds a little bit too low or there's just too much happening in the background and you can't really hear what they're saying. Now, what this new feature does is amplify voices without turning down, the sound effects or the background music. I'm not exactly sure how this all works, but it's great. Now, at the time of making this video, this only works on the Apple TV 4K with the 2nd gen HomePod, but whenever tvOS 17.1 comes out, the 1st gen HomePod and HomePod minis will also get this feature whenever that update's out. Now, let's talk about some things that, I didn't like so much. Now, first is Siri. Now, simpler things like playing music or asking what the weather is outside works fine, but once you get to talking more naturally or you ask it specific questions, it just has a hard time giving you the answers that you want, and you have to be very specific with your words, unlike other smart speakers. Another thing that is kind of annoying, especially with Siri, is if you have other Apple devices in your home that also has access to Siri, it'll prioritize the HomePod instead of a specific device. So let's say I want a specific focus mode on my phone or my Mac, and the devices are literally next to me, the HomePod Siri is going to take over and say,
"Sorry, I can't help you with that,"
even though it's, right behind me or a few feet away from me. And the last thing I don't like, and this is me really nitpicking here, is having some sort of EQ control for the speaker. I wish there's a way for me to fine-tune how the HomePod sounds. And I know that I said that the speaker sounds amazing, but again, for me, they sound great out of the box, but for someone with more intricate hearing, or they want it to sound a little bit different out of the box, having some sort of EQ control would have been nice. But yeah, that's the HomePod 2. Out of the box, they sound great, but if you want to fine-tune your speakers the way you want it to sound, the HomePod may not be the speakers for you. On the other hand, if you are in the Apple ecosystem already, especially if you have an Apple TV 4K, an iPhone, a Mac, or an iPad, it's pretty great. The fact that you can pick up the HomePod refurbished for $250, in my opinion, is a really great deal. If you've been looking to upgrade your home speakers, or maybe you want a home theater experience, picking up 2 of these for your TV speakers is a game changer. I think $299 brand new is an okay price for what you're getting, but definitely look into Apple's refurbished store and pick these up for $250. You're not going to regret it.